Welcome back to Teresa's Dead. My name is Teresa and I'm very much alive. I have an awful, garbage, filthy mouth. Viewer discretion is advised. If you're not into that or weird shit in general, this is definitely not the place for you. Feel free to exit the video here. No harm, no foul, but I'll remember our time fondly. Why hello my little country fried steaks. In today's video we have, actually you know what? What I would like to do is have a fun size Friday. One, it just sounds good. And I have a lot of products and sometimes it's just easier to do it in like one big roundup. So in today's Fun Size Friday, we have some products from BePerfect, Milk Makeup, and Flower Beauty. So without further motherfucking ado, let's see if I wasted my money or not. The first product I want to talk about is the BPERFECT Carnival 4, the Antidote palette, and this is in collaboration with Stacey Marie. This palette retails for $54 and you get 45 shades, 29 of them being mattes and 16 shimmers. Since there are 45 shades, I'm sorry, but I did not swatch this. My arm would fucking fall off, okay? I'm lucky to do like maybe a palette that has like, 16 colors. Beyond that, like, I might as well just cut my arms off. Plus, swatches don't tell the full story anyway. This is a big bitch, okay? I'm like trying to put both of us in frame and obviously I'm winning, but whatever, she's a big bitch. And honestly, I usually shy away from palettes like this because it's usually like a panic-inducing anxiety attack. But this one's different. I have never tried BePerfect before. I have been wanting to try them. And at one point I did try to purchase another Stacey Marie palette, but my order got refunded, so I took it as a sign not to ever fucking do it again. So with that said, I was lazy and didn't bother to look into it. It was probably a simple mistake, but whatever. Anyway, this palette was announced and I'm glad that I held off because I think out of all the Stacey Marie collaborations, this is by far the prettiest out of the bunch. This is hands down the most perfect fall color story to ever exist. And there's something for everyone in this palette. While yes, 45 shades are a lot to process, if you focus it on groups, like for example, like the first 3 rows, you know, you kind of have like more of a red, orange, burgundy moment. The next 3 is definitely your basic bitch wearable colors. And then the last 3 is those that are destined to be a mutant bog queen, i.e. my favorite, but also I am a neutral bitch, so. But whatever, there's something for everyone here. But in that same breath, what is nice, when I look at the palette in sections, you can definitely mix and match and you can create some really beautiful looks with this palette. That said, while this palette is quite massive, it's not entirely cumbersome, but I would recommend laying it down while working with it because it can be a little bit awkward to hold in hand. It's not heavy, it's just a little awkward to hold. So on this side, you get a nice full-size mirror that's really good quality and countless possibilities. The amount of looks you can create is endless. And for the price tag of about $54 US, it's fantastic. So I definitely feel like you get your money's worth with this. Now, full transparency, I usually like to try every shade, but this is 45 shades, it's a lot. But I did try a fair amount of them. There's probably a handful that I didn't get to try just because I could probably spend a whole fucking month on this palette and I have so much other shit that I want to play with, so. For the most part, I would say everything pretty much acted the same. There's one shade though that was a little bit off, but with that said, let's just break it down by finish because that'll probably be the easiest thing to do. The mattes in this palette are incredibly easy to use. They're highly pigmented, so you won't be spending a lot of time having to build up shades. And for the most part, I didn't have a lot of kick up and fallout. The darker mattes, however, especially kind of like in the green section now, there is a fair amount of fallout, so you have to be careful when using them. So I would recommend do your eyes first and then your base, because otherwise it's a whole fucking mess, especially with the shade Mystic. Here, oof, yeah. It was a struggle. So while yes, some can be messy, I'm happy to say that none of these shades stain my lid. The longevity of these shadows is fantastic. I wore them for up to probably 12 hours, even more, and none of the looks faded, nothing shifted, nothing lifted, everything still looked really good. This is probably some of the best longevity I have seen in a really colorful palette. I have used different eye primers with this palette, and for the most part, I had the same experience. There is one which I'll talk about later in the video. The shades are very easy to blend. I didn't experience any patchiness with the shadows, and I created really pretty gradients without dealing with any muddiness. However, there's one shade that I found pretty weak, and it's the shade Pretty Peachy, which is like this really kind of, I don't know, like a day glow orange kind of a shade. It's kind of neon, it's kind of not. I don't know, it's kind of like a mix between the two. Anyway, I wanted to like the shade more. For whatever reason, this shade just did not want to adhere to the eye. It came off very, very powdery and very, very silky. It reminded me a lot of that Nikkie Tutorials palette that like from Beauty Bay. I wanted to like that palette because aesthetically it was fucking adorable. But a lot of the mattes, they were too silky. And when you put them to the eye, they would just like blend away into nothing. It was really, really strange. And that's the only shadow that I used that had that quality. Everything else was fine. So maybe it could just be a bum shade. That could happen. But in any case, that was my only real complaint with this palette. It's a shame because I really do love an orange, especially in a fall color story. But it's not the end of the world because you do have some other oranges into the mix. Whatever. Like one shade out of 45, I'll shut the fuck up about. Now let's move on to the shimmers. First of all, fuck me up. They're wonderful and probably the best part about this palette. They adhere to the eye very, very well with a saturated brush and some glitter glue. I also did use my finger and I found out the payoff was pretty much the same. So you can finger yourself and it'll be completely fine. And the best part, I didn't experience any glitter bukkake at all. Nothing. Fucking wonderful. And I didn't experience any like wrinkly ball texture that sometimes you get with a shimmer shade, especially when you pair it with the glitter glue. I didn't experience any issues with that. Everything just looks so smooth and wonderful and beautiful. There's no cracking, no fading. Again, the longevity of these shadows is fantastic. Everything stays into place with the shimmer shades. So you'll not experience any fallout throughout the day, which is fucking lovely. And I also found that the shimmers layered really well too, creating really, really pretty gradients. And much like the mattes for the most part, no shades overpowered each other. However, if you are working with some of the shimmers, in particular some of the lighter shimmers, if you are trying to make a gradient, at times, especially if you're using two shimmers that kind of look might be a little too similar, you can't really tell the difference of them. So you kind of have to be careful with some of the lighter ones when you pair them together, because even though you know that you've put a couple of different shadows on to make a really pretty gradient, it kind of looks the same. So just kind of be careful for that. With that said, the shimmers are incredibly smooth. They have great texture, and when applied, they're incredibly slick and almost have like this metallic alien slut sex feel. I love it. Now for $54, this is a great palette, and I'm glad that I finally took the plunge and purchased something from BPERFECT Cosmetics. So now I'm interested in trying other things. However, if there's another palette like this, and I mean like 45 shades, I don't know if I would necessarily just want to jump on it. I think, you know, one palette's enough, unless it's something like vastly different that I feel like I don't have in my collection. I feel like a lot of the STACEY Marie palettes kind of look the same a little bit. They're all very beautiful, but they kind of look the same. I think this is the one that kind of just stands out to me the most. So I'm curious if they're going to be doing another collaboration, what the next palette would be like. But in any case, I really, really enjoyed this. And I think it's actually currently on sale right now. So, bitch, you can get it for cheaper, especially if you're interested in this. So, yep, definitely check it out. Link is in the description below. Now, the next palette I want to talk about is also from BPERFECT Cosmetics, and it's the Shapeshifter palette. This is the little carton it comes with, and these are the two palettes. Now, this is in collaboration with Zachary Vang and Kohl's World, and this palette duo retails for about $40. First of all, the packaging is fucking adorable. Like, are you kidding me? This is probably the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. This is so cute. I really, I really do love the construction of this. And for the most part, they stay intact. Of course, it's not completely perfect because you can easily just, break them apart. But what is really nice is if you keep this, you can keep everything intact. So each palette comes with a lovely size mirror. And on one side, you have the contour side, and the other side is the blush and highlighter side. So let's start with Kohl's palette first. In this palette, you get 6 different shades. The first 2 powders, as you can tell, are much smaller than the actual bronzer shades. And these 2 shades are meant to like brighten the under eye or use them to correct any mistakes. I was not a fan of it using these under my eye, but listen, like that's a me problem because my under eyes are like bratty fucking teenagers, and she only wants 2 things: closing her bedroom door when she studies with her boyfriend, and the Becca under eye powder. Everything else can eat a bag of dicks, mom. However, using these shades as a corrector when I fuck up, they're fine. I like it, I can get behind it. But the first shade, Morningstar, is a touch too yellow, not my jam. So I use the shade Shell, which kind of reminds me of a slightly darker version of like the little KVD contour duos, especially the lightest iteration. This formula kind of reminds me of that, except I think I like the KVD one a little bit more, but still not bad. As you can see, it's a pretty nice shade range here. And honestly, the only one that I really could use is the shade Sunbum. Everything else is a little bit too dark for me. I could probably get away with it, but nobody got the time for that shit. Sunbum is a very warm yellow tone bronzer. highlighter. So it's not my favorite right off the bat because I am a cool tone fish and I like cool tone options. However, formula wise, it's nice. The bronzer is super pigmented, so a little bit does go a long way. And I found that it was incredibly easy to blend. I didn't experience any patchiness, any muddiness, and the longevity was really good. Now, moving on to the other palette from Zachary Vang. In this palette, you get 2 different highlighters, 2 different matte blushes, and 1 shimmering blush. Out of the 2 highlighters, I can only use the shade Lotus. The shade Charm is a little bit too dark for my skin tone, which is fine. I could potentially probably make this like a blush topper in a way. But I will say with the shade Lotus though, even on my uncooked chicken ass, it could be a hair too dark. So I kind of have to be careful with it. This is a very pretty warm gold shade. This is a more powdery highlighter than the slick formula that I prefer. But I found this to be incredibly pigmented, very glowy, very alien slut, very easy to use. And it blends into the skin very, very well. And I really do like how it buffs into the other products, not making it look like I have a stripe of highlighter in the face. Like it really does do a good job blending in. Now the matte blushes are beautiful as well, but they are incredibly pigmented. So again, a little bit does go a long way. But if you do go ham on accident, what is nice is that these do sheer out. You just, you know, it takes a little bit from blending, but it does sheer out though. But it also helps that you have like the corrector shade in the other palette to balance it out. So while yes, I'm not like a huge warm tone person, I actually don't mind it because even though the bronzer is pretty warm, when you do pair it with these blushes as well as the highlighter, everything just meshes beautifully. I don't necessarily know if this all goes together. But I kind of just wanted to show you what the product looked like. I don't think I would have paired it with this look. I feel like with green, I usually go more of like a pinky blush, but I mean, it's still cute, but it's just, yeah, I probably could have dealt without that today, but whatever. That said, you do get a nice amount of shades for the price, and you can actually really treat this as a proper face palette. You could use the other bronzer colors as potential eyeshadows, definitely the highlighters or the shimmering blush as another eyeshadow. You can get a lot of versatility here, but it's just very warm. Yeah, I'm definitely glad that I picked this up, and I will say that I think I really like the concept of it more than the actual colors in the palette. I think when I looked at it online, I was like, oh, okay, cool. But then when I got it in my hands, I saw how warm it is. And again, it's purely a preference thing. I just prefer more cool and neutral types of face products, but I mean, they're not bad. It's just, if I could go back in time, I don't know if I would pick this up again. But in any case, I am happy to have it because at least I got to try the formula, and I do like the formula. So I will pay attention to future releases, especially if they do come out with more cool tone stuff. But this was definitely unique, and I love this. I am obsessed. I'm like a child. Shiny keys, shiny keys. Okay, like this is great. All right, we're gonna move on to the next product, and it's from Milk Makeup. And this is the Hydro Grip Eye Primer. This guy retails for $24, and it's described as an invisible hydrating primer for eyeshadow and under eye concealer that smooths skin and locks down color to prevent creasing, fading, and smudging. Now listen, I love the Hydro Grip Primer. I love the weird blue-green setting spray. I love that line. So when this was announced, I was like, oh, bitch, I need to try it. My makeup dick perked up and it was like, here's my credit card. Now I will say that I'm one of the firm believers that I think eyeshadow primer is bullshit. Looking at you, Urban Decay. For eye primer, I usually stick to my tried and true, which is like a NARS Soft Matte Concealer. That is just, I can't break up with her. She's so good and I love her. So I'm always very like side-eyeing any sort of eye primers because I'm like, I don't think you're really that good, but whatever. Anyway, I had to try this for science. And with that said, I kind of have mixed results with this. First, let's talk about this as an under eye concealer. Yeah, no, hell no. I have dry skin, right? No shocker. And I have an even drier under eye area. It's like a fucking trapdoor in a haunted house, okay? This bitch is dry. Dry and dusty. So I need to make sure that I'm using a lot of hydrating products, especially in this area. Otherwise, I look like my namesake. Dead. Now, this applied very quickly and very easily with the doe foot applicator. Love the doe foot applicator. And you're supposed to let the product dry before putting on concealer. Now, the dry time for the product kind of varies. It could be quick or it can be next year. Like, I don't understand because even I put the same amount on and sometimes it just dries down fast. And sometimes it's like I literally have to stand in front of my air conditioner to fucking dry it out. So it's kind of weird. It has a mind of its own, I think. Some say it might be possessed. Kind of goes with my spooky sweater, so it makes sense. Anyway, once this does dry, within a few minutes my concealer creases and my under eye areas just look incredibly dry and cakey. My under eyes look like a woman named Tanya whose blood is made up of Marlboro Reds and Keystone Lights. It's terrifying. So yeah, I don't recommend this as an under eye primer. Don't know who this is for. It's definitely not for someone who is in their 30s. So maybe if you're 20 and you have baby skin, you can get away with it. 30, you lost, bitch. No. That said, as an actual eye primer, it's okay. It's not bad. It's definitely not the worst thing I've ever tried, but it's certainly not the best, but it's better than expected. It really all depends on how long it takes for it to dry down. And I think it also depends on what palettes you use with this primer. So for example, I love the Hindash palette. It's one of my favorite basic bitch palettes. That is a foolproof palette, okay? So when I used the Milk Primer with that palette, my looks came out very patchy and weird and awful. It was terrible. Hated it. I'd immediately take it off, use NAR Soft Matte Concealer, and everything looked fine. Everything was well in the world. But then I used it with the BPERFECT, and it was fine. It was great. I had no issues. The longevity of the shadows were perfect. So I think it really depends on what you use. But even more than that, it depends on how fast this dries down. But today I used the product with the BPERFECT palette, and I don't know, maybe I just didn't give it enough time to dry, but it was incredibly difficult layering some of the shadows on. They looked a little, I don't know, like, you know when your arm is a little bit wet and you do swatches and it kind of comes out a little bit too dark and it looks dried but wet at the same time, like it looks a little fucked up. Like that's what it looked like on my eyes, and it took a like extra long time to try to make it not look weirdly dehydrated and saturated at the same time. If that makes any sense, I applaud you. But in my head it makes sense. But in any case, like, I think it really just depends on how long it takes for the product to dry down. So if you do get this, just wait. Wait for it to dry down for it to work. Otherwise, it's just gonna take you that much longer to do your eye makeup. Now, would I repurchase this product again? No. Because while it is annoying that experience varies from product to product or length of time for when it dries, I hate that it's clear. I wish there was a slight tint to this product. In my opinion, it kind of throws me off a little bit. I can see the discolorization on my lid. So even if I put concealer on my lid first, powder it, make it dry, and then apply this product on top of it, that was a whole nightmare too, so I don't recommend doing that because it made the eyeshadow, again, look really, really patchy. So yeah, she's kind of a high maintenance bitch. So you kind of have to like work on her schedule. And honestly, I just don't got the time. Even though I am working from home, I just don't got the time for that. So I would definitely skip out on this one. Now, last but certainly not least, if you're gonna buy anything that I talk about today, buy this. This is fucking amazing. This is from Flower Beauty, and this is the Jet Set Invisible Powder Spray. Game changer. Game changer, bitch. I don't know why people are not having parades about this product. This deserves a parade. So Flower Beauty came out with this ingenious product. This product is described as a revolutionary setting powder that instantly blurs away imperfection and sets your makeup for a silky smooth finish. You don't need any tools whatsoever, just spray and go. So this retails for $14. And this puts so many powders I own to fucking shame. It's witchcraft in an aerosol can. It's so easy to use. What you do is after you're done applying your cream products, spray your face. By the way, this is completely empty. But you just spray your face. I usually spray my face twice just for good measure, and that's it. It's just that simple. It gives your face this soft matte glow without drying your skin out. As again, someone who has dehydrated, disgusting, dry ass skin, this is amazing. Because a lot of powder products I am very, very critical on because of how it sits on my nose, or I notice after a little while I'll have like this white cast of just like cookie crumbs all over my face. And even though I hydrate the shit out of my skin, I still experience that. That doesn't happen with this at all, ever. Now, after you're done spraying your face, I usually kind of give it like a minute or two, and then I start applying my other powder products like my bronzer, my blush, my highlighter, and nothing gets disturbed. Everything stays into place. Nothing transfers. It's absolutely perfect. It's fucking wild. Now, I will say that my Chantecaille powder still does a better job at blurring my pores, but this bitch is a close second and a fraction of the price. I really cannot get over how wonderful this product is. Even if you do like go ham on it, you will not experience any sort of like white cast or like product buildup or anything like that. But I will say though that you have to treat this like a setting spray, so you kind of have to be like about 6 to 8 inches away from your face. If you do go up close with it, you can can get like, you know, maybe like a little white spot, but rest assured you could just use a powder brush and just it blends away. So that's the only time you're ever going to experience like a white spot, I guess, but it's really not that bad. Just do it 6 to 8 inches and you're going to be fine. This is also a great product for touch-ups throughout the day. Like, I don't know why more people are not talking about this. This is bananas. Like, this is so good. The other thing I want to say about this product is that for my under eye area, I still use my Becca powder. This is fine for the under eye area, but there's just something about that Becca powder, man. I can't handle, okay? It looks just so much better. But in a pinch, this is fine. So I've used this product for a couple of weeks now. It's empty. So the biggest con, while yes, it's $14, it doesn't really last that long. So if you are someone that does their makeup every day, like, you know, I'm not sure if you can really get a whole lot of use out of it. You know, so you're gonna constantly have to keep buying these, and which that can kind of add up. So I really hope in the future that the brand makes like a bigger version of this powder, because 1.5 ounces is just not enough and I need more, okay? I need more. I actually ordered 5. I ordered 5 because in Ulta they are sold out, but in Flower Beauty they are still available. So I'm waiting for them to show up, and I'm gonna throw a parade for them because they are the hardest working fucking product that I have tried, besides my beautiful thorn oil from Ritual Defee, okay? Bitch, I'm obsessed. The other thing I wanna mention too is why I'm like so like, yes about this product, is that in the heat and the humidity, this shit works so good. I didn't have any issues with transferring, especially when wearing a mask outside. It's been really humid in New York these days. It's been great. Like, I cannot get over how good this is. Like I said, it puts a lot of my expensive powders to shame. Now, if we can only somehow make a bigger can of this, then I don't need anything else. Like I said, if you're gonna buy anything today, definitely check this out. This is fucking well worth the money, and definitely buy a backup. You're gonna need it. And with that said, that concludes this fun size review. Let me know down below if you picked up any of these products, or if you are gonna pick up these products. And of course, let me know what other products you would like for me to review, because I love hearing from you. And with that said, I wanna say thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate it as always. Feel free to like, comment, hit that subscribe button, it's free, and hit that bell icon for notification of all my future posts. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, to all my beautiful, wonderful patron bubbies. Thank you so much for keeping this delicious, disgusting, filthy, trashy, really filthy, really gross, but wonderfully dry, but in a good way, garbage boat afloat. I couldn't do without you, and I love your adorable little delicious faces. If you want to know what is currently on my face, where to get this adorable little sweater along with this Halloween shirt, how cute is that, right? I'm adorable today, bitch. Everything will be listed in the description box below, and I'll see you little spice ham sandwiches later. Bye.